Hello and welcome to another pen video from me, Penultimate Dave. So here this week I have another 10 pens currently inked up. So what we'll do is we'll go through these briefly one by one, we'll then go through these in a little bit more detail, and then we'll do a writing sample. So from left to right we have the Delta Federico, we have Leonardo Furore in the orange, we have a Leonardo Furore in the Vulcan, we have a Atelier Lusso Andromeda Vulcan's Forge, we have an Atelier Lusso Andromeda in the King Cobra, we have an Atelier Lusso Andromeda Tectonic Seas, we have an Omos Paragon Arte Italiana in the Arco Brown, and this is a grande version of the Paragon. We have a Leonardo, and this is the Furore in the Blue Emerald. We have a TWSBI VAC 700R, and we have a Fine Writing International Brass Demonstrator. So I think let's have a look at these pens in a little bit more detail. So this is unfortunately the now defunct Delta. Delta was around for a number of decades, and this was Delta was a company that was sort of made together with the Matronis and some other partners, and Ciro Matroni and also Salvatore Matroni worked at Delta. Unfortunately, Delta went under a number of years ago, and the Matronis have since set up the Leonardo brand. So you'll see a few Leonardo pens in a moment, but this is the Delta Federico, and these came in a number of different sizes. You had the Federico, you had the Federico Stantufo. This is just the standard Federico, but this is a lovely cracked orange effect going on here. And although a lot of these Federicos and the Federico Stantufos had the orange body with black cap and blind cap or piston knob, this came with a white one, and I actually do like the white one because I think it actually accentuates the orange a little bit more. Now, if I unscrew, you'll see here it is an 18 karat gold nib, and this is a broad nib, and it's actually quite sort of chunky in diameter there in terms of the nib. The pen itself is actually quite chunky as well, and this is one of the reasons why I like this pen. Now, it is a cartridge converter, and I will just refill this with ink because I'm going to be writing with this more. I just cleaned it out, but you can also access the cartridge converter from here as well, which is what you can do in all of the new Leonardos as well. But this is actually a really nice pen. So this is a pen that I have been writing with. I did clean it out because I wanted to change inks today, and I'm going to be using a different ink for the next week in this pen. So this is the Delta Federico, and then we have this lovely Leonardo, and obviously this is a much newer version of the pens from the Matroni. So this is a Leonardo Furore in the orange. But again, this orange is actually quite nice. It has this sort of almost like popping effect going on here, sort of bubble effect. But there's a lot of chatoyance going on there in that resin. I do think that the Matronis do actually find some really nice resin. I think actually probably Italy is probably one of the countries that actually has one of the better sort of resins around, at least from what I've seen. They certainly had a lot of the best celluloids around, but this resin is actually quite lovely. Now, I've never really been a fan of the pointedness of these pens, but they are starting to grow on me. Now, this does come with a steel nib, and it's a medium nib in this one. Normally, more lately I've been having broad nibs, but this pen was on loan to me from John at St John's Pens, so I decided that I would try this pen out because it was a medium nib steel nib pen. So I have that one inked up as well, and that's also a cartridge converter. And then I have another Leonardo Furore, and this is the Vulcan, or Volcano, I should say. And this is, again, a very lovely material. Again, it's that sort of almost like, I want to say cracked ice effect, but it's, I don't know, I wouldn't actually really call it a cracked ice effect, but it's a beautiful, beautiful material. And I don't normally go for black or dark grey pens, but this is a pen that I do like a lot, and I've been writing with. So this is a broad nib, it's a steel nib from Leonardo, but again, this is a really lovely pen to write with, and I do like these Leonardos. I have to say, if I wanted to go for cheaper versions of pens than, say, some of my Viscontis or Scribos, then I probably would go with more Leonardos, to be honest. And they're also very easy to get hold of. And then we have this pen, and it's an Atelier Lusso Andromeda, and it's a Vulcan's Forge. And again, a lovely cracked sort of, or fiery orange effect, swirly pattern going on there. And this is the L for Lusso, and this is just a beautiful pen. So I do like this a lot, and this is the Andromeda, so it has a smaller, thinner section, but this actually has a Jowo broad nib. It's a number 6 size nib. Now this is a cartridge converter as well, so I do like using cartridge converters because I can actually clean them out a lot quicker. It does mean that the ink lasts a lot less, but it just means I can clean them out and change inks more. And then we have this one, and this is an Atelier Lusso Andromeda, and this is a King Cobra. Now this one and also the Vulcan's Forge are pens that I actually chose the material on myself and had Eric buy the material in and make pens of them. I wanted something that was unique, and I wanted something that meant something to me, because it was a material that I handpicked, and this was again another one of these Atelier Lussos. So again, this is the Andromeda, and it is a number 6 style Jowo nib, and it's a broad nib again, but you can just see in the size of my hand, this is actually a really nice size pen, and I do like it. This material really does speak to me, and I have to admit I've been thinking about getting another one of these because I do like this material a lot. And then we have this one, and this is again another Atelier Lusso Andromeda. This is, you can see there, this is the Tectonic Seas, and this is a really nice pen. And I just, again, it was another material that I handpicked. I wanted something that was a topographical look at the sea and the earth, and I think this one just did it for me. So again, this is an Andromeda. It's a cartridge converter, number 6 size, broad Jowo nib, but again, it's just a great size and weight for me. So this pen really is quite stunning. You can just see some of that white there, the chatoyance that comes off of that white, and some of the depth that goes on there in that cap is just amazing. So Eric actually does a very good job on making these pens. And then I have the Omas, and this is the Arte Italiana Paragon Grande, and this is in the Arco Brown or Arco Bronze, depending on how you want to call this material, but this material is a beautiful material. I just love the Arco Bronze, and I got this pen, and it wasn't writing as well. It had a clicky tine, so every time you went to apply the slightest pressure, the tine would click. Now, I was probably the 3rd or 4th owner of this pen, I suspect. I know I was at least the 3rd owner of this pen, and I took it to John Soroka, and he managed to fix it at a pen show very quickly, even though I tried to fix it myself numerous times and I couldn't. But John has the knack at doing things like this, so it was well worth the £25 I spent in having him spend 5 minutes on the nib, and now it writes flawlessly. And it's a really lovely pen, so I'm glad that I actually took it to John. But this is, again, it's a beautiful pen, and you'll see here that it is a 18 karat gold Omas medium nib, but it is a dream to write with. So I have this one inked up this week as well, and that is a lovely pen to write with. Then we have this Leonardo, and again, this is another Leonardo that is on loan to me. This is from John at St John's Pens. Really, I do like these Leonardo pens. The materials, the workmanship, the craftsmanship in these pens that goes into these pens is actually really good quality, and I do like it. I love the amount of polishing that they do on these pens. So this is the Leonardo Furore in the blue emerald, and this is again a stunning pen, lots of depth and chatoyance there going on. It's just an amazing level of detail in this resin. So this is the Furore. So again, this is a steel nib, but it's a broad nib, and I do like the broad nibs. You can post these caps if you want to. The pens are very lightweight, so it doesn't make any difference to me when I post a cap. But normally I don't post caps, but in these I feel a little bit more comfortable in posting them, because the caps are so lightweight that they really don't add any back weight to the pen. And then we have inked up my trusty TWSBI VAC 700R, and I really do like this a lot. It's a pen that I have had inked up for, I want to say, a whole year now, because this really has been a pen that I've not uninked, because it's a very good writer and it's a stellar performer. So I have a broad nib on here, and this is a steel nib, as with all TWSBIs. TWSBI don't do gold nibs. It's a power vac or a vacuum filler, and it's just a dream to write with. So that's another pen that I have inked up this week. And then we have this one, and this is a Fine Writing International, and it's the Brass Demonstrator. Now, I have been in two minds to whether or not I should polish this pen up. I've let it age graciously. You can see some of the tarnishing that's going on there, so it does look as though it's an old pen, when it's not actually. It's about a year old, and you'll see this here in the section, that you'll see that there's tarnishing going on here. So I could polish that up and actually make it more shiny, but at the moment I haven't done so. Now this comes with a Yovo broad nib, and again, I like the Yovo broad nibs. It's a cartridge converter. I can fill the entire barrel if I want to with ink. I haven't done that yet. I just stick with the cartridge converter in there, because that really is enough for me. It's a very heavy pen because it is made of a lot of brass, but it really is just a beautiful pen. And it's a pen that, again, I like writing with, and mostly because of the nib, because I do like these Yovo broad nibs. So I think with that, let's go and do a writing sample. So the first pen is the Delta Federico. So I think let's do an ink swatch. And you can see here, this is quite a broad nib. So it's the Delta Federico, and it is a broad 18 karat gold nib, and then the ink in here is Pelican, Edelstein, Mandarin, which is actually a lovely orange ink, and it's an ink that I do actually keep going back to. The next pen is the Leonardo Furore in the orange. So again, let's do an ink swatch. Now, this is a medium nib, but it's still quite a wet nib. Now, this is a different orange ink. So this is the Leonardo Furore in the orange, and it is a medium still nib. And then the ink in here is Sailor Gentle Apricot. You can see the difference there in that ink between the Pelican Needle Sign Mandarin and the Sailor Gentle Apricot. And then we have again another Leonardo Furore, and this is a Volcano. So again, we'll do another ink swatch here. Now, this is again a broad nib. So we've gone from a broad to a medium to a broad. And this is the Leonardo Furore, and this is in the Volcano, and it's a broad steel nib. And I really do like how this one writes. This is a very smooth nib, and it doesn't hard start and it doesn't skip. It's a really beautiful nib. And then the ink in here is Pilot Iroshizuku, and it's Kiri Sami, which is a grey ink that I do like a lot. And then we have the Atelier Lusso Andromeda in the Vulcan's Forge. Now we'll do an ink swatch. Now this is a very different orange. So this is the Atelier Lusso Andromeda in this is the Vulcan's Forge, and it's a broad steel nib. And then the ink in here is Robert Oster Tangerine. And it's an ink that I don't use a lot of. I like orange inks, but it tends to be a little bit more on the redder side of orange. So it's just, I prefer more orange colours than darker. It's more of a muddier orange, I would say. And then we have this Atelier Lusso Andromeda in the King Cobra. So we'll do an ink swatch here. And this is quite a thick ink. And thick inks tend to be more inks that sheen a lot, because they have a lot less water in the dye. And they also tend to be a much more smoother writing experience, I find. So this is an Atelier Lusso Andromeda in the King Cobra in a broad steel nib. And then the ink in here is Diamine, Skull and Roses, which is a German exclusive ink. So you will be very hard to get that ink anywhere outside of a German retailer. And then we have the Atelier Lusso Andromeda in the Tectonic Seas. So again, we'll do an ink swatch here. And again, this is another broad nib, and I do like these Jowo broad nibs. So this is an Atelier, Luso, Andromeda, in the Tectonic Seas, in a broad steel nib. And then the ink in here is Pelican, Edelstein, Aqua Marine, which is an interesting ink. It's actually really more of a tealy colour ink, I would say. I always think aquamarine should be more blue than green, but it's definitely a greeny coloured ink. And then we have the Omas Arte Italiana Paragon Grande in the Arco Brown. So we'll do another ink swatch here. Now I've chosen to go with a lighter brown in this pen than normal. So this is the Omas Arte Italiana, and it's actually the Paragon Grande, and it's a medium, and it's an 18 carat gold nib. And then the ink in here is Jeheben Lee de Tay, which finally is an ink that I'm actually starting to get low on. I did actually have, I think when I started out in this hobby, I started out buying, I want to think it was either 3 or 4 bottles of that ink. And I'm finally getting low. I think it was 4 bottles. And then we have the Leonardo Furore in the blue emerald. So let's do an ink swatch here. And you can see that this is a very broad writing steel nib. These nibs are Bock nibs in the Leonardo. So this is the Leonardo Furore, and this is the blue emerald. So it's a broad steel nib, but again this nib just like the Furore Volcano, this nib just writes really smoothly. And then the ink in here is Franklin Christoph, and this is Spanish blue, which is a lovely blue ink. One of my favourite blue inks, light blue inks. And I think I bought about 4 bottles of that as well. And then we have the TWSBI VAC 700R. We'll do a writing sample here, an ink swatch as well. And this is an interesting red because it has a bit of a greeny gold sheen to it. So this is the TWSBI, if I can spell, TWSBI VAC 700R, and it's a broad steel nib. And then the ink in here is Diamine Colt Pens, which is an exclusive to Colt Pens Robert. But that's again a lovely ink. And then last but not least, we have the Fine Writing International. So we'll do an ink swatch. Now, typically this was a brown ink that I never liked, because I found in a lot of pens it actually wrote too dry. In this pen, or in broad nib Jowo nib pens, I actually find it writes quite nicely. So it's actually turning me back onto this, and I'm actually quite glad because I have several bottles of this ink that I purchased when it came out. So this is the Fine Writing International, and it's the brass demonstrator, and it's a broad steel nib, and then the ink in here is Pelican Edelstein Smoky Quartz, and it's just an ink that I never liked, but I'm really starting to like it more now. So I think let's just go through these pens inked up one more time. We have a Delta Federico in a broad 18 karat gold nib inked up with Pelican Edelstein Mandarin. We have a Leonardo Ferrore orange in the medium steel nib inked up with Sailor Gentle Apricot. We have a Leonardo Ferrore Volcano in a broad steel nib inked up with Pilot Roshizuku Kirisami. We have an Atelier Lusso Andromeda Vulcan's Forge in a broad steel nib inked up with Robert Oster Tangerine. We have an Atelier Lusso Andromeda King Cobra in a broad steel nib inked up with Diamine Skull and Roses. We have an Atelier Lusso Andromeda Tectonic Seas in a broad steel nib inked up with Pelican Edelstein Aquamarine. We have an Omas Arte Italiana Paragon Grande in a medium 18 karat gold nib inked up with J. Heban Lee Dete. We have a Leonardo Ferrore Blue Emerald in a broad steel nib inked up with Franklin Christoph Spanish Blue. We have a Twisby Vac 700R in a broad steel nib inked up with Diamine Colt Pens Robert. We have a Fine Writing International Brass Demonstrator in a broad steel nib inked up with Pelican Edelstein Smoky Quartz. So there you have it. That's my currently inked pens for this week. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next pen video. Bye bye.